That all you have, Unc? At least I ain't gotta use cheap tricks to get the FPS I desire. FSR is a legitimate feature. You better get with the times, Unc. Oh man. Sure. I think I had that up there. I am sorry, y'all. That was corny. I know. I'm too old for this. Like, let me get my composure and then we get in the video. But y'all can see pretty much where I was going with this. This is basically a challenger video. All right, now that I got my composure, welcome back to another not so banger. Yeah, these are just horrible videos. But if you could not tell, basically I decided to do a challenger video just to see which graphics cards work better in an OptiPlex. I got two OptiPlex here, a small form factor and then a bigger form factor. Both of them are going to be rocking the same specs, which is an Intel 9400, 16 gigabytes, and they both have NVMe's in them. And then the only difference is going to be the graphics card, which this one is a 1650, a GTX 1650, and this is an RX 6400. Now, if you need to know the prices, basically that's why I made this video. Is basically if you are on a budget, you want to get into gaming, these are pretty much the simplest way. Just buy OptiPlex, put in a graphics card, and you can start gaming at 1080p low settings. But basically you have either a small form factor or a bigger one. If you can get your hands on a bigger one, you have more capabilities in the graphics card that you put one in. If you get a small form factor, there's very few single slotted graphics card, and that's where this RX 6400 comes. And now, if you must know the prices that I got this one for, this was $109, this was $136. Both of them came off of shopgoodwill.com. And then I had to do a couple upgrades. Both of them came with 12 gigabytes of RAM, so I just took 4 gigabytes out and added $15 sticks, 8 gigabytes to give them 16 gigabytes of RAM. This one only came with a hard drive, so I had to add an NVMe. This does hold an NVMe slot, and it was a $15 256 NVMe. This one had an NVMe 128. I just added a 1 terabyte hard drive for $15. So $30 upgrades to both of them. And then the graphics card, which are both, you can find under $100. The RX 6400 was $100 off of Newegg. The GTX 1650 was $91 off of eBay. And basically, if you get one of these, you can utilize both of these, because the problem with OptiPlexes sometimes is the power supply. Now, if you could get a workstation, those have bigger power supplies, but just the small office computers are going to have a smaller wattage PSU, and that's where these graphics cards come, because they don't have connectors and they utilize 75 watts from the motherboard. So the difference between the graphics cards is basically when they both were released. This was released in 2019, as the RX 6400 released in 2022. So it does have some newer features to it. This was on the RDNA 2. This was on the turning architecture. The 6400 has a bigger base clock and a boost clock, but the 1650 has more CUDA cores, or in AMD's case, it's stream processors. They both are running 4 gigabytes of DDR6. Now, the 1650 does have two variants, one DDR5 and DDR6. It's better to get the DDR6. I'll explain a little bit later. The 6400 can utilize more memory speed, 16 gigabytes, whereas this can only do 8 gigabytes. But this has a bigger memory bus, 128 bits, whereas this one has 64 bits. But this one, I keep saying but this one, the RX 6400 is better power consumption. It only uses like 53 watts, where this one uses like all 75 watts from the board. Now the main features on both of these, because this is a newer architect, they both run DirectX 12, but there are variants of DirectX 12, and there's DirectX 12, and then there's an Ultimate 6400. Because it's newer, it can utilize 6400, whereas this one only can utilize the regular base DirectX 12. Since it is newer, it does come with AMD Infinity Cache. Also, it can do ray tracing. I would try ray tracing on it. It can do ray tracing, but don't do it. Don't do it. don't even try it. Whereas the GTX version never got the ability to do ray tracing, but it does come with Ansel, which is a better way to capture video. Whereas this one doesn't really do well with streaming. This one does better with streaming because it does utilize NVIDIA's decoder, but only the DDR6 version utilizes NVIDIA decoders and can give you a better streaming, I guess, capabilities. All right, now that we got the specs out of the way, I'm going to be testing both graphics cards in a couple gaming scenarios to see which one comes out on top, or maybe they do similar, or maybe one outperforms the other. I don't know yet, but stick around because I'll give you my final thoughts on which card is the better choice to upgrade your OptiPlex. So until the next bit. So when doing the gameplay, I try to land in the same spot, and I try to keep everything similar, but it just wasn't possible in every scenario. But the performance still tells its own tale. Also, I tried to do some upscaling with NVIDIA and also with the FSR to see which one performed just a little bit better. So I hope y'all enjoy. I hope y'all enjoyed the gameplay as much as I did. Now I finished up with 3D marks, time spy, and the score can be misleading because I got a better score with the 1650 over the 6400, but in all, the 6400 on average in time spy does do better than the 6400. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. All right, I'm going to not try to be biased because of the NVIDIA fanboy in me, but if I had one to choose, uh, really, to be honest with you, can't go wrong with either one, especially if you can only get your hands on a small form factor. The 6400 shows it was very capable of running any game 1080p low settings. It got over 60 frames in almost every game. Cyberpunk was a different story. Even with frame generation uplift and or frame generation FSR upscaling, it still couldn't get 60. But to be fair, the 1650 didn't get up to 60 either. It's just a harder game to run. But the 1650 did outperform it about 4 to 10% in games like Fortnite, Apex, Wukong, even Cyberpunk. In GTA, it did outperform it, but it was strange because depending on the lighting, the RX 6400 did better. And I'm just guessing that was because it's a newer GPU, so it does better with lighting. But also, it was hindered by just having only 4 lanes that it can draw from, whereas a 1650 can utilize all 16 lanes. So that's why I'm guessing the performance is just slightly better on this one. Now, in Call of Duty, that's where the difference really lied because this was getting 80 to 100 frames without FSR, and then FSR pulled it over to 100 to 120 frames. That is 20 frames to 30 frames more than what the GTX 1650 was doing. Even when you did a NVIDIA upscale, it was still underperforming, never got to 100 frames per second. But now here's the thing, that almost made me lean towards the 6400. But when I was playing the game, the response time and just like the graphics just look better on the 1650. I don't know why. I can't explain. I don't even know if it shows well on this video, but the response time and then just less lag from the 1650 made me lean towards the 1650, even in Call of Duty, just because I rather have a better response time than more FPS, if that makes sense. But like I said, they both are capable. They both can do their things. And yeah, if I did have one to choose, it would be a bigger form factor where I can fit in a 1650. And if y'all can find that, then y'all go for that. Both of these PCs were under $300 and they perform well. So until next time, it's your boy, F4U.